Cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken for the dust that we are, and to the dust we shall return. The From the Dust podcast features people who have had life-changing experiences. Here they share their stories and testimonials about how God can move and change a person's life. Welcome to the From the Dust podcast. Take a listen. Open your hearts and ears. Here's your host, James Science.
Yeah. Welcome to From the Dust podcast. I'm your host, James Science. Whatever you are and whatever you're doing, hope you're highly favored and highly blessed. If you have a story or testimony you want to share, go ahead and hit me up From the Dust podcast at outlook.com. That's From the Dust podcast at outlook.com. Stories need to be told and voices need to be heard. Well, this month's episode is brought to you by Luis and Roseanne Garcia Jimenez. I want to thank you for your support and supporting the podcast. It's because of you that we're able to get this month's message out and the word out. So, you know what? We're going to bring in Kevin. You know, he has a mighty story about what he went through and the stuff that he went through in the streets. And he gladly came on and he's going to share his testimony. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Kevin, how are you?
Hey, my man. 10 out of 10 today.
Here we go. I know
God
we
bless.
had technical difficulties in the beginning, but we got it going. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hey, I think we're having some trouble again. I can hardly hear you, but
Hello. Mic check. Mic. Hello?
let's give it a second.
Mic check.
Kevin, sign in.
Mic. Hello.
Nothing yet. Yeah, it's harder.
Hello.
Maybe there we go. Yeah, technical difficulties, but we got you. And
Hey.
hi, man, how are you?
Hey, brother. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, right. Blessed to be alive. Best to be breathing, man. You know, God is good. God is great. I always say that. You know, just blessed in general.
Straight
So I
up.
want to thank you for coming on and sharing what you're going to share with us, my audience. You know, we can get into where you grew up and how'd you grow up?
Where I grew up with God. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, which is the next province over me. I'm from Canada. And I grew up in a home. My dad was a pastor, or he wasn't a pastor. He was a head deacon, top leader in the church. He was leading, guiding, and ministering the church. My mom was a deaconess. They spent so much time with God. They didn't spend a lot of time with me when I was growing up. And I was busy. I wanted their love. My dad was just super busy. My mom was busy. They were so committed trying to raise a family. And I would say my life was controlled in weird ways. But as I grew up, I looked to different men for approval. I wanted people to call my father. So I hung out with other guys, maybe men older than me. I wanted them to be like my dad. But I realized until one of them abused that, broke that trust with me. And I experienced some weird things in my life, some sexual abuse. But I trust that has strengthened me in my mission. Because I know, as confusing as that whole time was, man, I went through life confused, still seeking, willing to do what it takes to be loved. So I joined a gang. I tried to fit in. I got into some, trouble at school. Got arrested a couple times. And spent a couple of years of my life in prison, in the Young Offender Center. And yeah, there's more to the story, but I'll let you unfold it.
It's brother, I can relate to you. I grew up a PK, and my dad was there, but he wasn't there at the same time. You know, he was always focused on his ministry, always focused on the people in his church, and I don't know if I was seeking his approval, but the same thing. I began to hang out with dudes from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I should have no business living. So I know the feeling, bro, and I know what it is to grow up in that situation and the effects it has on you as a person growing up. There's a lot of hurt, but at the same time, there's a lot of give and take. You know, I see my dad bringing people. I seen him, bring people through drugs or the streets, but at the same time, I was lacking the love that I was searching for, and I tried to find that in the streets, and it just didn't work out the way I thought it would work out. I seen a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. What were some of the things you experienced in the streets, man? What did that do to you?
Well, hey, before I go, I just want to acknowledge that. I know what you went through. Fuck, a lot of pain, a lot of sorrow. Yeah, I feel that, man. Dad was there, but he wasn't there. So I hear you on that. I know what that's like. But what was your question again? What was it like growing up?
What were some of the? You said you in the gang. What was that? I never doing the gang, but I grew up around it. What was that lifestyle like? This is
Lots of lifestyle like it. It's really appealing to the young man, to a young guy, to any young guy who's exposed to a gang life. It's really tempting. They look cool. They got rap videos. There's tons of money. They got girls that looking fine. There's some people are strapped. They look dangerous. They're ready to hurt people. It looks cool. It looks cool from the outside. To be honest, it looks cool. Like everyone, yeah. You're like, hey, I'm a gangster. Felt cool back then. I felt like I was part of the cool kids club. Like I belonged somewhere cool.
Right. And what were some of the hardships and negative parts of joining the gang?
Negative parts of joining gang. I would say there's tons. A constant risk. There was a constant risk of death, constant risk of prison, constant risk of someone coming over there and turning on you. A lot of paranoia. You're easy around vices. There's always drugs around. There's always, alcohol around. There's always things around that can pull me down and away from God and away from my calling. So it was like I was really pulled away. Really pulled away.
And I read in your post I used to kick down doors, so and I read that you were cut or stabbed a couple times.
Yeah, a slice in the hand and a slice in the arm. Yeah.
Was that was due to the? I mean, sure, to the gang violence, some of your lows, and I also read that, and now you help people now. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So, was that your lowest lows? What was it that made you realize, you know what, I need to change my life. I need to stop doing what I'm doing and living the life I'm living. What brought you out of that?
I think for me is redemption. There's a movie that it's called Made in America. Bloods and Crips documentary. I watched it when I was inside. A psychologist that I was doing work with, he showed it to me. We were doing some work together. I had a couple anger issues, getting into fights and stuff. Wanting to prove myself. There's a lot of that. Wanting me to look tough, look cool, look good enough. The big turning point was when I went inside this. I watched this movie and I seen. At first, it was cool. Yeah, gangsta, all these guys making money, driving in nice cars. And then there was one part in the movie, man, where it scrolled through women crying. It was like maybe one woman. And it was actually someone's mother. And under the screen, just like down below in this feed, hey, it would say, Janet, her son's name is Richard, shot when he was 19. And this would go on for 20, 15 minutes. And that moved me, bro. Because I've seen my mom in pain so many times because of my actions, man. But that really hit home because I really understood, like, okay, that could be me, man. That could be me and that could be my mom, man.
I remember, man, 'cause, I remember my older brother. He was involved in street gangs and stuff like that. And I remember one night we were coming home from a service, and the street that we're coming down was all blocked off with cops and lights and tape.
Yeah.
And my mom, bro, like the first thing that came out of her mouth was, "Where's John? Where's John? Where's my son?" Because down on the street, you can see the mayhem. You see cars with bullets, man. You see something covered with tarp, and so I mean, I can relate to that feeling. You know, it's crazy how much we can put, how much stuff we can put our parents through. You know, like not just that, man, and ourselves too. I never lived too much of a crazy life, but I experienced things that were made me realize where, you know, if I don't shape up and change what I'm doing, I'm gonna end up like my friend there in the casket, or I'm gonna end up like my buddy who's doing so many years in prison. What are you doing now to help your fellow men?
I like to start with self-leadership, man. Before I lead others, we have a growing group of young men, young warriors that I want to do so much more for the world. Some of them are men of faith. Before all that, I need to lead me every day. I still wrestle with that every day, man. I need to lead myself. I need to lead what I'm doing, lead my own mind, lead my own feelings, discipline myself, keep my word. It's an everyday thing, man.
Everyday battle. Like, you know, how can you lead somebody if you're not living right? You know, yourself. You know, if you're not walking the walk, how can you be that light and testament to somebody else? I get it. For those who haven't experienced life inside, what is that like?
My man, life inside, that is awesome. I would say, yeah, when you first go in, you know, maybe jails in the States. I'm guessing you're from the States, huh? James?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, life, maybe the States, the Canadian jails are not as bad, not as crazy. But when you get arrested, it's always cold here. You get put in a holding cell. It's called arrest processing unit. You get locked in there, and there's a cheese sandwich that comes to you every 4 hours, or like three times a day. You gotta go inside your shirt to stay warm. There's like 5 other dudes in there as well. Silly, stinky. And then we go to court where we eat some more sandwiches that are like stale and plain. But then when we get to in the center, we get strip searched, we get patted down. They take everything from us, and you're given a blue uniform, told to walk on the right-hand side, told how to, and yeah, it was very, not something I really liked. So I walked on the right side of the hallway, wear the blue uniform, ate the same food, try to stand up for myself whenever someone was lipping me off. There's a lot of pride in there, man. A lot of pride, especially you're on the young guys. We got a lot of ego to prove and a lot of things to prove to each other. So that's what's up for me on that. Yeah.
I'm glad I never. I think I learned fast enough. But people when sorry, people in the streets or people I come across, I learned quick that life wasn't for me. I always take a lesson from somebody I met. Every person that comes in my life, I learn a lesson and I apply it to my life.
Yeah.
For the ones that are listening now, and the ones that are going to be doing, that are maybe living a street life or headed down a dark path, what kind of hope and inspiration can you give them to put themselves out of the rut that they're in? Did you get that?
Yeah. I think for me, my gut feeling says, I want you to keep going down that same path. is, you know, if someone's doing some dirt, I want you to keep going down that path, because one day you're gonna hit a roadblock. One day you're gonna get arrested, because at the end of that walk is a good lesson. Jail was a good lesson for me, man. Getting sliced and stabbed was a good lesson for me. Getting shot at was a lesson for me. Being on the run from the police was a lesson for me. I thought it was all cool, but until, you know, God puts these lessons in front of me. And sometimes it's hard enough to change. For some people, it takes maybe their brothers get shot in the street. That's when their lesson comes. But I want the hope and inspiration that I want to give is I want you to live bravely. If we're going to live it, we want to live bravely, man. It's going to be okay. And it's all going to go back to what I want and what you want. You know, maybe it's God's way for you to sell drugs right now. Maybe it's God's way, but I know God will lead me and you in the right direction. That's how he works. Another piece of hope was I encourage a lot of people to start accepting Christ in their life. And I'm the same way. I have trouble accepting him.
I get it, man. I believe sometimes we got to go through things, certain pain, certain trials, man, for us to open up our eyes and realize that God's always there. He's going to be there. And of course, he's going to allow us to go through what we go through, you know. That's just his way of teaching us that our lessons, you know. That's, you know, I get that's some good advice. Some people might not agree, but in actuality, man, you know, we got to hurt. You know, we got to go through the pain, you know, to finally see, you know, well, we got to cut it out, you know. We're going to be in a dark place, or we're going to be dead.
You're right. I think there's that as well. I encourage people to start finding their mission, or start understanding what God's mission is for them. Because I've been learning lately, man, humbly, that I'm a tool for God. He is using me. I'm not here for me, man. I'm not here to live life for money. I'm not here to live life to look good. You know, I'm not here to live life to have sex with hundreds of women. I'm not here to live life. He wants something from me here. So if I'll be his vessel, I need to humbly be his vessel.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
That just shows your humility and knowing that. I know I went to church, and I went to church, but I wasn't doing much. You know? I was showing up, and when the service was over, I was just going home, you know. But I always knew that I could be doing more, you know. So that's when I got involved with my church's media team, you know. I'm starting to give out the music again, and that's where this podcast came from, you know. I knew that there's people out there that have stories, you know, they have testimonies, and they have powerful stories that can help someone change their life, that can help turn their lives around, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be a light, spread the word, and glorify God, man.
I did the same thing, man. Yesterday, I did a lot of praising to God, man.
Every day, man, I want you to know that give thanks to God, man, for waking you up. You know, our lives might seem mundane and it might not be what we want it to be, but we're in a far better place than we can be. You know what I mean? So before we go, man, and we call it an episode, you want to say to people that are watching, listening, the last words that you have in your heart and your mind that you want to share?
I want God to breathe life into everyone here. Let me just take a moment. I just want to talk to God for a second. Maybe people here can take something from this. Dear God, I know you're hearing this podcast, and I know you're here in this spot with James and I. And I'm trying to understand you a bit today. I'm gonna understand myself, and I'm angry today, and I'm carrying a lot of anger and shame and fear and self-hate. I know you could. I know I'm carrying all this, and I'm giving this all to you. But I want you to know that there are people that are listening to this podcast here today, and they're maybe some of them are asking for something, and they come here to listen to you. I trust you will strengthen them, and I trust you will strengthen me, and I trust you will strengthen James to breathe life and fire into our hearts. And I hope you can be with everyone that's listening in this podcast. I don't know what they want in their life, but I know what I want, and it's you. So that's in that I humbly pray. In Jesus' name.
Man, wow, bro. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your heart. These are the conversations I like. The conversations. This is one of the realest conversations I had in a long time. I have a lot of guests come on, they have different stories, but each one is different, and each one relates to somebody out there that's going to be listening. I encourage you to share this podcast, share it, friends and family. Again, if you have a story or testimony you want to share, go ahead and do it from the Dust Podcast at Outlook.com. That's from the Dust Podcast at Outlook.com. Stories need to be told, and voices need to be heard.
Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. All things are passed away. Behold, all things become new.
From the Dust Podcast, y'all be blessed. Yeah. We'll see you soon.